Okay. All right.
No creo que agarre tanto.
All right. All right.
Hello, I'm Bjarne and Fostervold, and I'm greeting you from the eastern part of the country of Paraguay, an area that used to be all jungle, as we see in the back, but today it's been turned into large farms. The reality here, though, is that there was a tribe of native peoples called the Ache. They were hunters and gatherers that were living in this area. They were under threat, they were being persecuted, they were being attacked, and their children were taken to be sold as slaves. This is the 50s, 60s. Actually, they went through a genocide, and many, many bad things happened to them. But in the 50s, my dad and my mom, in missionary training, heard about the Ache, and they made a commitment to come to Paraguay to reach these people. It didn't happen for more than 20 years until finally, in 1970, they heard about the literally one of the last bands still living in the jungle, under threat. And we moved into this area when it was all jungle, and we started going into the forest trying to establish a friendly contact, and in the process avoiding being killed because they were so terrified with all the trauma, with all the bad things that had happened to them. They didn't see any white people as worthy of their trust. And over 7 contacts, over 5 years, finally that trust was gained enough for them to come out to this place called Puerto Barra. It's now their community. They were 28 people strong. There was a guide that helped us translate. He was rescued from a life of slavery, and we started building a community. Building a community, first of all, with vaccines, with medicine, then with education, then agriculture, and now today it's grown to over 300 people. So the exciting thing about this is that when the Ache realized that their creator was actually the one that gave them their language, spoke their names, knew their names. They didn't have to become what they were not. They didn't have to identify with people from the outside in order to have worth. Their worth is in Christ, because as their creator, He's the one that's given them all the good things that they have in their culture. When we began to understand the burden of trauma that they carried after so many centuries of interacting with people that did not see them as fully human, only then we began realizing that our work was much more than just a message, a short, brief time, but coming alongside them on the long term, because they are still growing. They're still trying to grips with a market-driven economy, with a very aggressive and a very competitive world, as they try to farm, as they try to gain livelihood, as they try to find their way in a new world. When they lived in the forest, they could go any direction they wanted. They had the autonomy, they had the liberty. And now today, the jungle areas have receded and have disappeared, and their lifestyle from before is gone. And so now they're trying to figure out how to go about this. We want to be a part of that. We want to come alongside them. We want to, in some way or another, be a brother and sister.
Saludos desde la comunidad Ache Puerto Barra de Alto Paraná, de Paraguay. Mi nombre es Rosalba López de Fostervold y mi trabajo es en el área educativa. Mi ministerio al mismo tiempo es integral porque trabajo junto con mi esposo en todo lo que hacemos, realmente estamos juntos, y en el desarrollo comunitario y en varias áreas también apoyándole a él y él a mí. Y mi área de trabajo es ser la supervisora de educación pedagógica y administrativa del pueblo Ache. Realmente es un desafío el sentido de que los Ache puedan expresar y sentir el amor y el poder de Dios en todas las áreas de su vida, inclusive la educación. Y que eso también quieran transmitir a las futuras generaciones a través de los trabajos, a través de todo lo que se hace en educación, que ellos puedan decir que Dios es parte de su cultura y que también es el que le ha dado a ellos su identidad. Salvar la cultura, el idioma, todos los aspectos que hacen la esencia Ache es importante porque el desafío para entender y para introducirse en el mundo globalizado, necesitan saber que ellos son H y que son un pueblo especial y que todo lo que tienen es importante. Así que hermanos, oren por nosotros, apóyennos y seamos juntos parte de este gran proyecto.
Hello, my name is Rosalba Fostervold. I'm the son of Bjarne and Rosalba, and I'm right now the third generation missionary here on location in Puerto Barra. My ministry focuses on primarily two things. Here in Puerto Barra we have a communal pig farm, which is essential for the food security of our village. But we're working towards having a place that's going to be built for the long term, a place that's viable for both producing income and also providing for the nutritional needs of a community that's growing at a very fast rate. I'm also involved in everything that has to do with multimedia. My skills include graphic design and audiovisual, and I studied in communications. I'm involved in the graphic design side of education with my mom, and also producing videos and editing all sorts of multimedia needs with my dad. I'm also a producer on the first ever Ache language podcast, where we talk about news and different stories that are very important to the Ache. And I'm also involved in youth ministry here, and we're trying to find ways to encourage the young generation to not abandon the values of their elders, but also challenge status quo, and they can start thinking long term into the future and what do they see as the future of their community when they become the new leaders, when they become the people who make the decisions that will affect their children.
So in this context of all this change that has happened for the Ache people in the 40 plus years, and it's ongoing, there's still a ways to go. We ask that all of you who hear this story may first of all be encouraged to know that God is sovereign, and even in the midst of a pandemic, He's still at work and He's doing marvelous things. But we do need your prayers, we need your support, and we ask for anyone that would be moved and touched to consider partnering in prayer, in giving or coming, to share the skills that you have in some way or another. May we find a way forward so that God calls us to be partners with Him, to be His hand, to be His feet, and to share our hearts with one another. And so this is what I ask of you, my brothers and my sisters. May God bless you all, and thank you so much.